Darrell Brooks, his closing argument is nothing less than dramatic. Just like how the rest of this court case has been going, will he take responsibility for the incident? I highly doubt it, but let's watch.
Know that it's a lot of information that you guys should be privy to, I believe. And
So he's going to try to go for the jury nullification again. And say that he doesn't understand what he's doing, but I think he does.
the one thing that I believe that you have not been privy to is the truth of your rights and your duties, being the jury. The fact that you and you alone have the power, not well prepared DAs with well prepared and clearly rehearsed speeches and exhibits and a lot of theatrics. Frankly, not the judge. You and you alone have the power. You and you alone decide what is truth and what isn't truth. You should be informed that you have the power to nullify any law that you don't agree with.
There it goes. So, oh my God. Yeah, this is, how do you think this is going to go for him?
Objection. Move to strike the statement.
Sustain.
Objection.
I will strike from the record the last statement made by the defendant. The jury will disregard it.
Which is clearly what I've been saying. I believe that not only is it fair, but it's essential that you be privy to all knowledge, not knowledge that certain people feel that you should hear and shouldn't hear, disguised under the color of law. The fact of the matter is, just like I did with my opening statements, I don't have a well-prepared or rehearsed speech.
Maybe you should get a lawyer.
I didn't look in the mirror and say certain points to myself over and over again to make sure I have them right or anything like that. I've chosen to speak from the heart in my opening statements, and now I'm going to speak from the heart. What you won't hear me do is argue facts. And the reason you won't hear me argue facts is because I believe that it takes away from what should be recognized. The tragedy of this event, it should be recognized. Trying to argue facts of this, facts of that, I'm not going to waste your time doing that.
Because you have no facts. All you have is theories in your head.
It's a little emotional. I apologize for the long pause. It's hard to keep everything together emotionally. And honestly, I don't believe that I have any more tears left. It's been a hard year. for the families, mostly. And that should not be lost on anyone. It shouldn't be taken away. I said it before and I'll say it again. It's a lot of people that are healing, that are attempting to heal. Um,
So he's gonna trying to play on the jury's emotions that the families are not gonna heal if they convict him. I don't understand this argument, but I I don't think he has any remorse.
that opens the door to talk about forgiveness for a little bit. Um, with every healing process, there comes a forgiving process. Um, it's not an easy thing for anyone. What you've been hearing from the prosecution, and not to take anything away from them, but let's call it what it is. You've been hearing a lot of rerun.
Let's talk about the rerun. Uh, lawful law, a word that comes up a lot. Um, him saying that he's been held in contempt, which he hasn't, because of all his disruptive behavior. The only person rerunning is him.
Same things over and over and over. No different than when you turn on the radio and you first hear that song that you don't like when you first hear it, but they play it so much that eventually you start saying it, the words to yourself before you even realize it. And then you sit and you go, I hate that song. Why am I singing it?
The song is "You Committed a Crime." That's the song that you still haven't admitted to.
That's what's been happening. Rerun over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Attempting to make things stick in your head that simply aren't true. Why do I say, what am I saying? I say, look at the testimony. You know, the theme from the prosecution here has been intent, 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 intent. We all know what's been said. We all know the picture that's been painted. Even the prosecution said themselves.
I think he had a better chance if he actually admitted, or his defense was that there was no intent, but he won't even admit that it happened.
How can you look in somebody's head and say, this is what they intended to do? You know, for a year, I've sat and gone through this, feeling so powerless. You know, letting other people run with the narratives.
What other people? You have no lawyer. You were the lawyer. You're supposed to have the narrative.
Sitting back helpless while other people paint a picture that has zero truth. Zero. I understand about healing myself, tragedy, pain, all that. A lot of it, there's no need to get into. I myself in my own life have had to do a lot of healing.
You see how everything's about him and no, he doesn't bring up the families that were hurt in the parade. It's just typical. I'm very surprised that he was not diagnosed, honestly. I don't know what his diagnosis is, but it's just crazy. You could just see it.
As a man with children myself, I find it hard to believe that anyone who's really had conversations with me, spent time around me, would think for 1 second that this is an intentional act.
Then you should have proved that it was not intentional. But you didn't. You wanted to play games the whole trial.
I've never heard of someone intentionally trying to hurt someone while attempting to blow their horn.
You could have stopped.
While attempting to alert people of their presence. Which
So now he's playing the card where he's trying to say that the car malfunctioned due to this recall. But there was no proof that his brakes were not working.
brings me to more information that I believe that you should have been privy to. And I'm sure that the prosecution will beg to differ. But the fact of the matter is, the vehicle in question, make and model of 2010, Ford Escape. The vehicle in question, actually 2008, 2009, and 2010 of that model was in fact recalled.
Objection, misstatement of the facts, facts not in evidence.
Was in
Improper
fact
argument, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Was in fact recalled.
What was it recalled for? You should have presented it as part of your evidence.
Was in fact a class action lawsuit against Ford
Objection,
for those
facts not in
models,
evidence,
for
Your
those
Honor.
model vehicles.
Sustained. The juror will disregard.
Information that you should have been privy to, that you weren't allowed to be privy to. Why? I don't know.
You know.
That information, malfunctioning throttle bodies.
Mr. Brooks, move on.
It's information that you should have been privy to. Vehicles that malfunction and accelerate not being able to be stopped.
Objection, that is
It's
completely
information.
inaccurate,
It's
Your Honor.
There's an
information.
objection. Hold on. Go ahead.
Move to strike. statements by Mr.
Sorry for the
Brooks.
interruption.
They are facts, not an evidence, Your Honor, and it's a complete misstatement.
Sustained.
So I think it was part of one of the procedures that's saying that the recall was actually because cars were stalling, not accelerating.
Strike
How's it a
B.
misstatement when I have the information?
Mr. Brooks, move on.
This is information that I feel like you needed to know. You should have known. Information that was taken away from you. Why? To prove a case? Information that you definitely should have been privy to. DA says the defendant has an utter disregard for human life. Utter disregard for human life. Not realizing that they're talking about someone that has children.
Now let's keep in mind that he tried to use his children against his, I don't know if she's a girlfriend or wife. So that's how he used his children.
Talking about someone that watched their children come out of the womb and be born into this world, cut the umbilical cord, held them before their mom even did. Moments that I'll never forget. And yet they say disregard, utter disregard for human life.
You ran over children. What about their life?
They made reference to a rage, as if they were, or if this particular DA was right there, standing right there, as if this DA is a psychiatrist. I said to myself, what rage? What do you mean rage? How can you characterize that? How can you have the audacity to diagnose what someone's brain is? Where it's at, what it's thinking, why it thinks the way it does.
Should have been part of your defense. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll keep going.
DA makes references to blocks of no one being injured, but then says it's intentional. You add that up with the supposed rage, the supposed intent to harm and kill, and it doesn't kick in until well within blocks. And maybe it's just me, but I would think if I was characterizing someone with this intent to kill and this rage and this anger, then why weren't people immediately harmed?
What is he talking about? People were harmed. And let's not forget that he did abuse his girlfriend slash wife before the incident. So his defense that he doesn't have rage or intent or talking about blocks. Yeah, I think he's done.
Why would someone with intent to kill and rage try to alert people of their presence, repeatedly honk their horn? You heard a detective, if you recall, testify that the vehicle that he observed was not only honking his horn, but was not speeding. So where does this rage kick in? Where does this insatiable intent to kill kick in? It speaks as someone who's known someone for years. Which brings me back to the vehicle. What if the vehicle couldn't stop because of the malfunction?
Objection, fact,
There's no proof of that.
not evidence.
What if the driver of the vehicle was unable to stop the vehicle? Because of that fact, what if the driver may have panicked?
So now he's saying that the driver couldn't stop the vehicle, and so he panicked, and that's why he killed 6 people and ran over 61 or hurt 61 people.
Does that make the driver a crazed, or not crazed, a rage? Does that make the driver in a rage and intent on killing people? DA played a exhibit 17. You don't see anyone struck in that vehicle. On that exhibit, you don't see anyone struck. With someone who had this intent to kill, this rage, as she says. If that was their intent, wouldn't they have taken the opportunity to hit as many people as they could? Target people, mow down people.
So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that his argument that he did not have intent, or his argument that the car was malfunctioning, or the argument that he was not enraged and that he speculation, because he's saying panic attack, and even though he still does not admit he was the driver, do you think that argument will um, sway the jury? I don't know. I don't think they've seen his whole disruptive behavior this whole time, so but this is now he's now testifying, even though he didn't refuse to testify because I don't think he wanted to get questioned by the DA. So he decided to do it during closing argument.
Reference was made to this vehicle, the damage. Says this was all caused by bodies, but then later turns around and says hits barricades and other objects. I've heard testimony about hearing loud crashes and things of that nature, but the DA wants you to believe that this all came from people. Evidence doesn't support that. So I go back to trying to wrap my head around everything that's happened in the last year. Praying for those families, praying for the people that tragically lost their life, because that should not be lost either. The fact that there was lives lost and all the emphasis has been put on the alleged defendant, and the people have been disregarded. Makes me wonder, does the DA even care about those people?
Now, he's first of all, he said alleged defendant, and that the people were not regarded as far as this case. But the people are actually the ones that testify against him, and saying that the DA don't care about those people when the DA was the one that called all those people to testify